You can start.
Okay, welcome everyone to NSBE RPI second GBM. Today we're going to be talking about Black entrepreneurship, and we have a few special guests later that are going to, show us a little more about what entrepreneurship is all about. So, we usually start our GBMs the same time, same way every week. So I'm gonna, start you off, and I want everyone to unmute and say the NSBE mission statement as usual. So the mission statement of the National Society of Black Engineers is
to increase the number of
Black
engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community.
right. That's exactly what I want to hear. So we're going to start off with a few announcements. So mark your calendars coming up. I think that's this Monday. We're having a paint and sip with Sace, Shep, and Sui. And then on the 2nd, we're going to have a Global Foundries information session. And on our next GBM, which is on March 4th, will be GBM about STEM and social justice. In addition to that, make sure you check out all of the other Black History Month events that are coming up. I know tomorrow, BGSA is having a trivia night, and ASA is having their Night of Rhythm on Saturday. So make sure you attend all of the other Black History Month events, because everyone's putting in a lot of work to set these up for everyone. This is probably one of the most important announcements for the night. So as per usual, we're having applications for the NSBE Shep Career Fair. And if you guys don't know already, the NSBE Shep Career Fair is the biggest career fair that RPI has every single year. And this is the main way NSBE is able to fund all of our activities every year. So that's going to conferences, ordering NSBE swag. So it's very, very important that we, make this event successful in the year. So we're asking for your guys' help to make sure that we have as much help as possible for the career fair. So go ahead and scan that QR and apply. The deadline is March 12th, and you're definitely going to be hearing from me about that more as we get close to that day. So our e-board applications are also opening soon. So, I'm about to graduate, so we're going to need someone else to step up and take my place. And so I'm going to expect you guys to apply to the e-board when those open. We will be having e-board information sessions coming up. We haven't decided the date yet, but stay tuned for more information about that. And kind of the last announcement is remember to order your NSBE RPI gear. So we're ordering these t-shirts, and I'm going to be closing the sign-up form tomorrow. So make sure that you go ahead and fill out an order if you want one. Make sure you're also a paid member as well. The information to do all of that is in the Discord server. So if you're not sure where the link is, as you can see, Mahmoud is asking who made those shirts. Mahmoud made them himself. So he's guessing himself. All righty then. So I think we're gonna go ahead and get started. As I said, today we're going to be talking about Black entrepreneurship and kind of trying to encourage everyone to get involved and also show you a few people who are involved themselves. So you can go to the next slide. So we have a few alumni guest speakers. So the first person I want to introduce is Nomfor Tiapo. He's a recent RPI graduated in December 2019 with a bachelor's in computer science. And he's currently an entrepreneur. He's currently focusing on EdTech venture targeted at improving virtual engagement in college courses. During his time at RPI, Nomford was an avid member of the Black Students Alliance. He served as the president during the 2019-2020 academic year and the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. He's also a two-time Google intern and an incoming Microsoft software engineer. So I'm also going to introduce our second speaker, and then I'm going to hand it off to them to share their stories. So can you go to the next slide? So I'd like to introduce Dr. Michael Conward. He's an experienced tech entrepreneur, and a mechanical engineer with 8+ years of experience in design and manufacturing, tissue and rehabilitation engineering, microscale engineering, mechanistic modeling, and biorelated science. He was first to receive a Bachelor in Science Mechanical Engineering at George Washington University. While a member of Division I's men's basketball team, he then later completed his PhD as a National Gem Fellow at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. He currently serves as a Chief Technology Officer for 2 startup companies, Self Array, a semiconductor company, and I believe it's pronounced Luo, a postpartum care company. He brings prior cutting-edge technological development skills from his time at Boeing, Boeing Research and Technology, and has 4 patents pending. Dr. Conward also serves as a principal investigator for Self Array's National Science Foundation Phase 2 Small Business Innovation and Research Award. So definitely we have some accomplished individuals here speaking with you guys today. So so Michael or Numford, does anyone want to go first?
I could go first since I'll probably be shorter, so.
All right. Do you have any slides to share, Numford?
No, that's fine. I'll just go ahead and talk.
Okay, so I'm handing it off to you.
Cool. Yeah, so thank you for inviting me. I'm pretty sure most people that are here probably already know who I am, but I guess I'll just introduce myself briefly. My name is Numfor. I'm a recent RPI grad, which is weird to say. I'm still getting pretty used to that because I just graduated last semester, so I was just in most of your shoes, but I guess I made it out now. I'm a free man, so yeah. Yeah, I mean, just graduated, so my entrepreneurial journey has been pretty short, but so yeah, when Eman asked me to speak, I wasn't sure if I would have too much to share with you all, considering I was just in your shoes, but I guess I can just go through my brief journey thus far and talk a little bit about the lessons I've learned. So yeah, I guess briefly, just before entering RPI, as a high school student, I was pretty into like programming and stuff like that. So I knew I wanted to major in computer science. I definitely didn't like think about the word entrepreneurship or that title that much or anything like that yet, but I was just pretty into learning how things work and coding and stuff like that. So I guess my first somewhat entrepreneurial project was an app I made after I graduated high school, so the summer in between senior year of high school and freshman year of college. It was called Focus. Pretty simple Android arcade game. I think I shared it with my friends and family, so probably got about 10 downloads or so. And it was just like my first taste of having people use something that I actually built, so that was pretty rewarding. Fun fact, you can actually go download it now. It's still there, but I probably wouldn't recommend it because it might break your phone, but fun fact. Yeah, and I guess just fast forwarding into freshman year, majored into computer science right away because I knew that was what I wanted to do. In the spring, I joined Arcos. For those of you who don't know what Arcos is, it's the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. So it's basically a club where students can go and pitch different open source projects, and other students can come and join them. And you can work on it for credit or for pay. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I would definitely recommend Arcos, not just for CS majors as well. ECSE, or even if you're artistic, I would definitely recommend it. It's really good for getting some hands-on experience. I think Eman could speak on that a little bit as well because he was also involved in Arcos. But yeah, the summer after my freshman year, I didn't have an internship or anything like that, but I wanted to make the best use of my time. So I basically spent the whole summer getting better at web development. And at the end of the summer, I had my own personal website and I had that out. And I think that gave me an advantage later because first semester of my sophomore year, I was out applying to internships and things like that. So I applied to internships at Google and Microsoft. And I think having that website and having something to show gave me an advantage in the hiring process. So I was able to get internship offers from both of them. So I ended up choosing Google. I was pretty on the fence, but I think I like the movie, The Internship, so I think that was probably what swayed me over. I kind of wanted to have that whole experience riding the bikes around campus and things like that. So I ended up choosing Google, and I don't regret my decision. So I ended up working there the summer after my sophomore year, and it was a really great experience. I would say, I mean, obviously Google's a great company, benefits wise, and free food and the bikes. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But aside from that, I would also say that it was a good experience technically. As a computer science major, you know, coding for homework and for tests and things like that is much different than actually coding in the real world, which is like engineering. Because when you're, you know, making something for a homework, you're the only one who's going to look at it. It's going to be used once and then it's done. But you know, engineering in the real world, you have to have a lot more considerations and things like that. So I learned a lot, and I definitely grew a lot as an engineer during my first summer at Google. And I think those skills that I learned there, I was able to apply to my personal projects when I left. And I think there I also probably had my first, I guess, spark of entrepreneurship, because one thing about Google is there's so many smart and talented people. And one thing that I couldn't help notice was how, you know, there were so many smart and talented people, but as great as Google paid them and as great as the benefits were, I just kept asking myself, like, why is it that you're still working here? Because you definitely have not only do you have $1 million ideas, you also have the know-how to actually execute them. And obviously, you know, it's easier said than done starting a business. But I guess one thing that I found was that there was a lot of people there who, in my opinion, didn't seem to be living up to their full potential. And it was something that I kind of took a note of mentally, that I didn't want to be like that. Even though I think, you know, working at a big company is a great experience, I definitely recommend it. Long term for me, I knew then that it wasn't something that I wanted to do forever. And I also just kind of noticed that during that time, intrinsically, I was more motivated to work on things for myself than I was for other people. So I guess I kind of started to learn about myself a little bit in learning that I didn't want to work for somebody else forever. And yeah, so that was my first summer at Google. And then I did another summer this past year. But so when I came back after my first summer at Google, I was more motivated to work on my Arcos project. I ended up joining a project called Venue. I don't know if any of you have done Arcos, you might have heard of it, but back then it was already an existing project, and the focus of it was on basically giving instructors a way to take attendance in non-traditional ways. So one example use case was, like, let's say you have some like art instructor, and they're like, I want you guys to go out and go to a museum. But I want proof that you were actually there. So what you would do with Venue is you would go and you would take a picture of the museum when you were there, and then you would upload that picture to Venue. And that picture would also have the location data, so verifying that you were there at that point in time. So basically just giving instructors ways to take non-traditional attendance. So I definitely spent a lot of time working on that during my junior year. And then, as we all know, COVID happened, and we all went home for spring break, and then, you know, we were told, don't come back. So I guess during that time, I was trying to figure out how can I repurpose what it is that I'm doing a little bit, since what I was doing was so focused on, you know, the in-personness of it, and obviously classes going online, that was kind of lost. But I didn't want to just stop what I was working on. So I was thinking, how could I kind of repurpose it in this new environment that we're in? And also at that time, the Entrepreneurship Center, the Severino Center, was also hosting one of their business plan competitions. And I'm sure, because I think Kelly's here from the Severino Center, I'm sure she'll talk about that and all the stuff they do, all the really great stuff they do more. But I'll just dive briefly into the competition they were holding. So this was last spring. Basically, it was a business model competition. And so you come up with your business idea, you would fill out the business model canvas. And the real focus of it was on customer discovery. So that was the first time I heard about the word customer discovery. And for those who don't know what that is, it's basically the philosophy of putting your customers first. So going out and talking to the people who you think are your potential customers for whatever business idea it is that you have, and learning about what their problems are first before you really start implementing a solution, because they say that the number one reason entrepreneurs fail is because they build something that nobody wants, right? So if you kind of reverse the process by figuring out what are people's actual problems first, then you can kind of avoid that failure. So yeah, I entered that competition. Long story short, I learned a lot from doing a lot of interviews. I won $1,000, which was pretty cool. And I also figured out a way to repurpose my idea to be more applicable for online courses. So basically, the way I repurposed it was essentially giving instructors an easier way to measure or to engage with their students in online courses, and also measure that engagement. So specifically, let's say you're a teacher and you're teaching. One thing that's kind of hard to do in an online class is like take attendance. Even though you can look at things like meeting participants, since everybody has their camera off, it's kind of hard to know who's really engaged. So one way that I thought about solving that was, oh, well, like, what about QR codes? So the instructor shows the QR code to their students, and their students scan it with their phone. So that kind of verifies that not only was I at this class, but I also was paying attention enough at this point in time to scan the QR code. Another part of that is just like basic real-time quizzing, so like eye clickers. And then on the asynchronous side, because obviously with everybody sent home to because of COVID, many students were in different time zones and things like that, and it was really hard for instructors to know like how students are actually performing. When it's you can't really force a student to come to class if they're on the other side of the world, because the time zone might not line up. So one way I was thinking about solving that, and I implemented, was letting instructors upload their videos to the platform, and then being able to see what students watch the videos and the percentage of the videos they watch, and also just make it more interactive by putting in quizzes and things like that. So that's just a little bit diving into how I repurposed it and how it works. But long story short, I was able to try out my idea with a few professors in the summer. So the main one being Professor Charles Martin. Some of you may have had him. He teaches stars and galaxies. He also teaches Earth and Sky. So he's in the astronomy department. So he was, I guess, crazy enough to be willing to try some, product that a student came up with and gave to him in his actual class. And I'm definitely grateful for him, because even though it broke multiple times during the summer, he stuck with us, and we were able to improve on it a lot and things like that. And then moving to the fall, so last semester, I was looking to get more people to try it and adopt it. And I guess it's very difficult to convince people to try your idea at an early stage. But I guess one thing that I learned, or one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is that there's a lot of talented poor people in the world. And that's because they don't know how to sell themselves, right? So I wanted to avoid that common pitfall by really learning how to sell what it is that I was working on, so that I could get more people to actually try it, even though it was still at an early stage. So went about making like a marketing video, and I had to learn a lot of things that weren't necessarily on the technical side. So these were things that are outside of my comfort zone. I guess just how to sell things in general. So I definitely improved my communication skills and my people skills that way. So yeah, I was just learning a lot, and I was basically able to convince about 5 professors or so to try what I was building last semester. So they tried that. One of the biggest classes that tried it was strengths of materials. So that was about 200 students. In total, we had about 600 students using it, about 5 different professors. So I got a lot of really good feedback and a lot of test data. And even though there were a lot of bugs and things were breaking a lot, I definitely learned a lot from that. And then fast forwarding now to just this past January, I participated in the National Science Foundation I-Corps program, which is short for Innovation Corps. And I'm sure Kelly might speak on that a little bit as well. But basically, that's even more focused on customer discovery interviews. You have to go out and talk to like 30 people in the span of a few weeks and really validate your idea. So that's just a brief overview of the entrepreneurial journey I've had so far. It's not very long or anything like that. Yeah, and I won't speak too much about it, because I guess I want my actions to speak louder than my words. So hopefully I'll come back in a few years and the fruits of my labor will be a little bit more evident. But just some brief lessons that I've learned so far. I guess the hardest part is really just getting started. So whatever idea it is that you have in your head, the hardest part is really getting started. And once you have people using and relying on what it is that you're working on, it's a really rewarding feeling. And I think, for anybody who's here who might be thinking about starting an entrepreneurial endeavor, even if it's not anything related to what I was talking about, I think entrepreneurship in general will just teach you a lot of life lessons, be that communication skills and how to talk to people, or being resilient, learning how to fail and things like that. So I would definitely recommend it for everybody, even if your goal isn't necessarily to have your own company. I think everybody can benefit from it, just in general. So yeah, that's just my brief. Pass it off to Michael.
Well, that's kind of hard to follow up behind. Good job, man. And thanks, Emmanuel, for the intro. I didn't expect you to read the whole bio, but that's appreciated. I got two slides. I made two slides. I'll share them really quick. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about my journey, some entrepreneurship, my relationship with Kelly, because she's been a big part of my entrepreneurship journey as well. Her and the CEO of the company that I work for now, Clint Ballinger, in the Lally School Severino Center. Let me see. Robert will stop sharing content. Okay. Forgive me, guys. I'm not familiar with WebEx like that. Can everybody see this? Yep. All right, cool. So I'm originally from Miami, Florida. I got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from the George Washington University. Got my PhD from RPI. While I was at RPI, I worked in a nanoscale manufacturing lab where I was looking at how bone microstructure influences machining responses. That was fundamental research to figure out how to develop patient-specific bone cutting tools for orthopedic surgery. RPI, I was really supported by the GBM fellowship. So if any of you guys are thinking about grad school, I'd highly suggest you look into the GBM fellowship or the GBM consortium fellowship. It's a way for you to get your grad school paid for, and they'll match you with industry partners. So you'll have internships at big companies, and you'll basically be guaranteed a job after you graduate. Some of the other things that I've been doing, I'm currently on this New York State, U.S. and United Arab Emirates Business Council delegation. So I was fortunate to fly over to Dubai and Abu Dhabi last year and try to make some partnerships to engage with them about Self-Array. So Self-Array is the company I work for now. It's a semiconductor startup company, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that on the next slide. But that was a fantastic experience that I got last year. I was the graduate student commencement speaker for RPI, the last in-person graduation. So hopefully there's another one sometime soon as COVID stuff dies down. I was also the founding president of the Black Graduate Student Association at RPI. And then some of my past work experience. So I had 4 internships at the Boeing company. I worked in Boeing Research and Technology doing assembly and automation. So using robots to build airplanes, which was pretty cool. That was a really good experience for me. My first hardcore mechanical engineering internship. Boeing's a good company, big company. The only thing that deterred me away from that was because it's so large, you can get lost in that pool of fish. There's less autonomy and you're more so sectioned to focus on one particular thing, as opposed to entrepreneurship life or a startup life where you learn everything, you do everything. I also have experience working at the National Science Foundation, the FDA. And since I graduated RPI, I joined a startup, Self Array. I met my CEO, Clint Ballinger, through the NSF I-Corps program. So that's definitely a good program to get into if you're thinking about entrepreneurship. I don't want to repeat, anything else, but definitely see Kelly in the Severino Center. They do a lot of good things for entrepreneurs. Pitch competitions. You can get some money for some of the things you're trying to work on. There used to be this thing called Startup Tech Valley, where a bunch of companies would come. Maybe it was like every Wednesday or once a month or something like that. Kelly can tell you more about it. But that's a good resource for practicing your pitch or trying to get some kind of funding, because a lot of the local community will go to those events. I'm going to go to my next slide and tell you a little bit about the companies I work for now. So now I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Self Array. Self Array is a company that we're an enabling technology to manufacture micro and mini LED displays. So you can think about displays as big as the wall in your house, just a whole TV screen and not a projector. Or you can think about it as small as a Apple Watch. You're using each individual LED as pixels, and there's millions of LEDs to put down. So what it traditionally do is use a robot to pick and place these LEDs down, but it's so many of them and they're so small, it's hard to do. So our original process, we were using this thing called diamagnetic levitation. So essentially we were levitating these LEDs into place. So you could just dump a bunch of them on this magnetic stage and they will auto align themselves. And then you pick all of them up, that array, transfer it to a circuit board, and you get a display. That technique, as we got into smaller and smaller LEDs, it wasn't scalable. So we've been using lasers to just pop these LEDs off. And so I got a little picture here where you can see how I've highlighted where we're gonna shoot them off, and then they're gone. Once we shoot them off, we actually stretch them out to their final pitch location, and then we transfer that to a circuit board. So that's a little bit about Self Array. When COVID hit, it kind of slowed us down a little bit. And during that time, I was able to develop or co-found another company. It's called Myalua Health, and that's the company that focuses on pregnancy and postpartum care management. If you're unaware, there's a huge problem in the United States with maternal mortality, especially when it comes to Black women being 3 times more likely to die than white women. So our company is specifically focused on reducing maternal mortality and depression, and reducing the gap in equality within the maternal health care system. So what we're trying to do is bring maternal care to the home. So because everything's going digital now, we developed a digital application. We're combining artificial intelligence, wearable devices or remote patient monitoring devices, and kind of self-care practice tools. So we're developing an algorithm or a mobile app that continuously screens for mental and physical health issues, so we can address these issues before they happen and kind of reduce that mortality and depression rate. So those are that's a little stuff on my entrepreneurship side, like the 2 companies that I'm the chief technology officer for. But some of the takeaways I would say in my journey that I've learned about entrepreneurship, customer discovery is like a big thing. And he kind of said verbatim what Clint told me, as far as you never want to build something before talking to people, because they may not want it. A lot of businesses fail because they develop products that nobody wants. So you got to go talk to your customers and figure out what that looks like. Kelly has there's a lot of programs at RPI that you should utilize. If you really want to learn everything about the business, have more autonomy, I would go the entrepreneurship route. It's high risk, but high reward. It's a lot of work. So don't underestimate it. Like there's a lot of people out that are saying, oh, I'm going to, start my own business. There's a lot of work that goes into starting your own business. It's more than 40 hours. It can be like, it can be more than 40 hours a week for sure. But the good thing about, your own company is that you're working towards your own dream. So it doesn't really feel like work. And, my dad always told me that you can work to make somebody else's dream a reality, or you could work to make your own dream a reality. So I always choose, my dream. So that's why, I'm in the entrepreneurship space. And yeah, that's my little spiel. I know we're supposed to do Q&A, if that's still a thing. So if you guys have any questions for me, just let me know. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. Cool.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing, Michael. Oh, now was a perfect time. If you guys have any questions for Nomford or Michael, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And then I'm going to ask you to unmute if you can and just read them out loud so we can get the Q&A started. In the meantime, while people are thinking of their questions, I have a question for both of you. So you kind of might have answered it already, but what was the most beneficial resource that was made available to you through RPI? Like, what was the one thing that was the best thing? Or
I'll take this one. So for me, the I-Core program was what really jump-started me. So I had actually did a mini version of the I-Core program. It was a 3-day workshop. I actually got to fly over to San Diego. It was all free. It was a bio-entrepreneurship workshop, 3-day workshop, teaching you about customer discovery. And after I did that workshop, I came back to New York with an idea. And me and another teammate, we applied for the local I-Core program. We did that. I was actually working on a company using bacteriophages to combat antibiotic resistant bacteria. So it was immunotherapeutics, completely outside of my field. But you can learn anything. And I would advise you to, like, when you're starting to think about a company, think about your strengths and weaknesses and really build a solid team around you, because that's really going to help you in the long term. So that if I had not done those 2 programs, I probably would have never met the CEO of Self-Array, which is how I got onboarded onto the Self-Array team. And that really changed my trajectory in life, because I had an offer from Boeing. I had already worked 4 internships there. I was going to be making good money. But that gave me a chance to really experience this startup culture, the startup lifestyle. And now that I've done it, I'm fully committed. I don't want to work. I don't want to work for anybody. If I'm not working for myself, yeah, I got to figure out a way. And, because we're engineers, we always got ideas. It's a matter of just, doing those customer interviews, doing your research to figure out what people's pain points are, and just trying to develop technology around it. One thing that I learned before COVID hit, I don't know what the best strategy is now, but if you go to trade shows and you just ask people questions, you can really get an understanding of what the problems are in that particular area, and that'll help you develop innovative solutions.
thank you, Michael. Nomford, do you have an answer for that question as well?
Yeah, similar to what he said. I would say the first San Center business competition that I entered in last fall was very, very helpful. That was my first ever introduction to customer discovery, so it was helpful from that regard. And also, I think the format. So the format was creating a presentation to basically present your idea to a group of judges who were RPI alum. I think doing that was very helpful for me, because I think the presentation that I created, in all honesty, really wasn't that great. But from that experience, I was able to learn how to really talk about my idea a lot better. And after that, I think I shifted my focus to really not necessarily being on the technical side of things, because I know that's what I'm good at. I know I can build stuff, but also being on the interpersonal side of things, being able to communicate what it is that I'm working on to people who have completely no idea how it works. So that was really beneficial. And then also the I-Core program, like Michael talked about. I think the most beneficial thing I learned from that was really just learning to completely get rid of your unconscious biases when you're talking to people. So completely erasing from your mind what you think their problems actually are, and just really listening to what they're saying, and then deciphering their problems from that, which is still something that I'm working on, and it's definitely something that's not easy to do, but I think that was a really beneficial experience from that regard.
Awesome. Well, you can clearly see that RPI has definitely helped making these guys, you know, dreams a reality in terms of providing resources for them. Tyra has asked a question. Tyra, do you want to unmute and ask? Or do you want me to read out the question for you?
I can read the question. Do you have any advice on how to work with other people, specifically if there are any disagreements on how/when to do things in the project?
So that's an interesting one. Interesting question. I think that in an interdisciplinary team, it's wise to heed the advice of somebody that has expertise or has like the professional opinion in that field. There's also the method of like a majority vote type of thing wins. As far as time management, like I think, so generally you'll have a roadmap or like a milestone chart where you'll have certain deliverables, and those deliverables need to be met at a certain time. It usually goes into the flow of the project. So that's something that should generally be agreed upon with the group. It should make sense. But I would say that if there's a disagreement, there needs to be justification on both sides for that person's point of view. And it's easier to solve disagreements when you have multiple people, so that there can be some kind of like majority vote.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. I would say that I think there's one thing that I've learned/seen from my short journey so far, is that you have to learn to embrace conflict with other people, and really not just run away from it, but really embrace it. There's no business that doesn't have conflict. There's no organization, there's no anything where people work together towards something and achieve something great where they don't conflict with each other. That doesn't necessarily mean that, I guess it's case by case, in the sense that it depends what stage of whatever you're working on that you have to decide. I mean, you have to know maybe at in the beginning, there's only certain types of people that you can work with. So that's just the way it is. But I think one thing that I'm grateful for is the time that I spent as BSA president. Not like there was a lot of conflict like that, but I guess just learning how to work with other people who think differently from you is a really, really valuable experience. And I would say probably the greatest mentor that I have actually to this day is my father. And whenever I call him about anything, it's kind of annoying because he just loves to disagree with me. He just loves to be like, why are you doing that? Like, and just like challenge every little thing I say. And it really used to irk me, but as I've grown older, I really began to value and actually seek out his opinion because he disagrees with me. So I think nobody's always right, or nobody's right 100% of the time. And it's definitely valuable to have people who think differently from you, because that diversity of opinion is probably what's going to make you actually improve.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And don't be afraid to compromise. That's a whole thing. People if you know you win some and they lose some and vice versa, like everybody is trying to work on towards the same goal, so there can be compromise.
Thank you for sharing. Tahira, do you want to unmute and ask your question, or should I read it up for you?
I can read it. Was it hard for you guys to find time to work on your project or develop your idea when you were still a student slash graduate student?
So I'll be really quick because I didn't have as much time to work on my project as a student. I was like doing a lot of work as a graduate student. And my entrepreneurship journey really started like hardcore after I graduated. But I've always been in innovation and whatnot. Yeah, I would say that the I-Core program, it's like 8 to 10 weeks. It's not super intensive and you learn a lot. So something like that like is very manageable. Um, yeah, I don't have a lot on like I wasn't trying to build, you know, a prototype or anything while I was in school. So I can't really speak too much on it, but I can say that.
Yeah, I would say that it can definitely be challenging, and it's one of the reasons why I intentionally graduated early last semester. So right now I'm not working. I don't start work at Microsoft officially until the summer. So I intentionally took this like half-year period to really focus on myself entrepreneurially and get a head start at my business, just because school can be exhausting, right? But with that being said, I think if something is important to you, you'll find time for it. That's true for anything, not just whether starting a business. That's true for exercise or sleep or whatever it is. If something is really important to you, you'll make time for it. And I think the most important lesson that I've learned is that slow and steady really wins the race. So even if you find that you can't really dedicate a lot of your time to something because you know you have school, you have other commitments, a little bit every day over time, it really does add up, and that is where you see true change. So for those of you who are still students, um, I would say even just 30 minutes a day, it really like over time it'll really add up.
All right, thank you guys for answering Tahira's question. Tyra, I see you have another question. You want to unmute again and ask the question?
Yeah, both of you can ask this question, can answer this question. But earlier, I think Michael was talking about how it's good to ask customers questions before you like fully do a project, just to know like if that's actually what they will want. But my question is, how would you get access to asking those people questions, like in an environment?
So when I did the I-Core program at RPI, our first session of customer discovery, we went to the farmers market and we just asked people at the farmers market. I guess it depends on, you know, some things depend on what application you're trying to develop. But there's many resources you can use to engage people in customer interviews. You can use LinkedIn, social media. You can try to reach out to people on the streets. You use your RPI network for sure. There's a lot of alumni there. You could sign up for trade shows. You could sign up for now they have a lot of web shows, web conferences that you can attend and talk to people. Um, there's networking events now too. I see a lot of digital like online networking events. So you can do some customer interviews there. And a certain industry or top, like look for other companies that are doing something similar and try to reach out to them. And you'd be surprised at like how many people are just willing to just talk to you for a couple minutes.
Yeah, he hit on some interesting ones. I would just say where there's a will, there's a way, right? So if you really want to talk to somebody, you can find a way to talk to them. Might be a little bit easier for what I was working on in particular because it was instructors and I was a student. But I just sent emails to professors. Hey, I'm working on this thing. Would you have 15 minutes? Could I show it to you? If you like it, maybe we could try it in your course. If not, that's cool too. But your feedback is appreciated either way. And I got a lot of people who just didn't respond, but some of them did. And for the ones that did, I got a lot of really good and valuable feedback out of them. And then when I ran out of instructors that I knew, I started bugging my friends like, yo, could you introduce me to this teacher that you have? And it's just the email, so most of them would be willing to do it. So I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, where there's a will, there's a way. And like he hit on, if your customer is something that's completely different, there's LinkedIn, there's a bunch of networking tools nowadays that you can use.
All righty. So I think this might be the last question after this. So Garcelle, do you want to unmute and answer your question, or should I read it out for you?
I can ask. So I was wondering, what was one of the biggest challenges you faced and how did you overcome it?
So I guess one of my biggest challenges, and a lot of entrepreneurs face this challenge, is figuring out when you need to pivot. So at Self-Array, like I mentioned, we were doing diamagnetic levitation. So we were aligning the LEDs using magnetics, but that method was not scalable for the LEDs that we were ultimately going to have to use. So we had to pivot our entire technology. So we shifted from using that, which had been, researched and built upon for the last 2 years, to something completely different. And that was a hard jump, reinventing our technology at that time, but that was the only way that was the only path we had to commercialization. So being able to adapt in a startup or entrepreneurship setting is going to be critical. We had to do something similar to with Mylua. We originally were going to do send out bundled kits to the home with physical products and some digital wellness tools, but then we went all digital because of COVID, and we enhanced with artificial intelligence technology. So there might be, as you do customer interviews and as you get further along in your entrepreneurial journey, you may realize that you need to change things. So that's something you just have to be open to, and hit the ground running.
I would say the biggest challenge that I probably face is just learning to be resilient in the face of failure. And I guess failure can come in many different forms. But that's a small anecdote from last semester. So I briefly talked about how I had about 5 courses trying. 5 courses, like 500 students trying out my application, and there was a few times during the semester where it just broke. It just broke and it just didn't work. And I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. So I had to send out Google Forms, basically asking students for feedback on what is it you're doing here, and just basically asking them for what they're doing and trying to just debug and things like that. And that was the first time that I've had like 100 people just like send me angry emails about like, why is it that your thing doesn't work? I'm really stressed because of classes, and now my instructor is trying to use a tool made by some student, and your thing is trash and like it's broken, and it's like, I was like, dang, like these are my peers, and they're really just coming at me right now. But I didn't get discouraged in that moment. I kind of just took it as I saw through it, and I saw that a lot of them, in between the insults, were giving me a lot of really valuable feedback on how I could actually improve it for students. And I did that, and lo and behold, it got a lot better, and they were happy and they were content. So just learning to be resilient and learning to be disciplined. I think the reason I think I've learned so much from entrepreneurship in my short journey is because I feel like it's just given me life lessons that I could have learned anywhere, but I think entrepreneurship will give you faster because failure is more prevalent. So whenever you try to do anything big, you're gonna fail, and you kind of just learn that the battle is you versus you. So you just gotta learn to just dust yourself off and keep moving. So yeah.
All right, thank you guys so much for sharing and answering some questions. If anybody else has any more questions, if the presenter's okay, maybe they can share their contact information so that you can follow up with them after. And if they do choose to share, I'll make sure to share that in the Discord as well for anybody who might miss it. And so you've heard from a few entrepreneurs how their journeys are going and what they're up to currently. So you might be wondering to yourself, how do you start yourself? So we have Kelly from the Severino Center, who's going to share a few ways. She's going to share about how you can get involved at RPI. So Kelly, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Emmanuel. I'm really happy to see how many of you turned out tonight to hear from fellow alumni who took an alternative pathway from their engineering degrees. So that's kind of promising to me. I'm just going to share my screen. All right, you can see that? Great. So I'll go pretty quickly. I know you're wrapping up the meeting here. Numfor said the hardest part about starting is just starting. So we tell students that when they ask, how do you start? And we say, you just got to jump in and start. So what you're looking at here is a few different ways that you can start. We not only do competitions and challenges, but we also offer meetups where people can learn from each other, find partners to help them move forward, hear inspirational talks that might get them inspired and motivated to move into doing something on their own. And on top of all that, then we also have courses that you can learn a little bit more about taking the steps towards entrepreneurship. But one thing I can tell you is that there's no paved road with continuous steps that can get you from startup to commercialization by following 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. It just doesn't work that way. Everything is different, and everyone has their road bumps and their pivots, like you heard tonight. So it's a different pathway for everyone. What we have developed for students on campus so that they can give it a shot during this period of their life where they're a little less risk averse. They're able to take some risks with what they're doing because they don't have as much commitment like family and jobs and all those other things weighing them down. We offer some things that they can get started. So eShip 0, eShip 1 and eShip 2 are all things that you can do while you're still taking a full course load because it's going to make you stand out. What I try to tell students is even if you don't want to become an entrepreneur, doing these extracurricular, co-curricular activities is going to make you stand out in your next interview. Because what we're finding from employers is that they want to get students not only with the technical skills and ability that you're learning at RPI today, but also these softer skills. And this is what's making students stand out. And all of these can be achieved through participating in our programs. To start with eShip 0, if you know you don't want to be an entrepreneur, but you're kind of interested in hearing what other people have done and maybe down the road it's something that you want to consider, we have this thing called Impactful Innovators. It's a new course that we started last semester. Numfor participated in it, I think, and we're running it again this semester. We're bringing in alumni who are innovators in their own industry. Not all of them are entrepreneurs, some are, but they've all done really interesting things in their field, and they're coming back to tell you their stories. So this is a 1-credit class that you can add on to what you're doing. The workload is really light. You just write a small reflection after each talk that you hear each week and show up. Those are pretty much the 2 things you need to do, and you get an A for the class. So this is something we intend to run again next semester, and we're really having fun with it. But if you're interested, this is kind of our lineup for the semester, and we welcome any students to drop into any of the sessions. As you can see, we invite alumni from many different industries. So if you're interested in any of these industries, you can come here and alum speak. So to start off, a lot of students tell me, I don't really have an idea, but I want to try entrepreneurship. So where do I start? And we tell them that the best businesses are created by those who are solving people's problems. Like you heard both our alum speakers tonight say, they talk to customers first to make sure that they're solving the right problem. And that's exactly what we tell our students to do, is to try to find an unsolved problem. And when you find an unsolved problem that's big enough, thinking beyond our campus and beyond your own personal problems, but thinking about much larger problems, then you're going to find a place that needs innovation. And so what we offer for students to kind of get their feet wet is a really easy challenge. We offer it each semester. You can win $500. We give away 6 $500 prizes. We just held this competition last week. We'll run it again next semester. And all you have to do is talk to us about an unsolved problem. Tell us that you've done a little bit of research about it. You understand how big the problem is, as far as societal impact it might be having, and why it hasn't been solved yet. You do this in a 2-minute live pitch in front of judges, and you can win $500. So it's an easy way to get started down a path towards potentially thinking about entrepreneurship. This is the competition flyer from last week's competition. But at that point, we find that students are like, okay, I've looked into this problem, or maybe even another problem I was working on in class or something. And I thought, all right, I think I can solve this problem. So I'm going to start working on it, right? That's the next step. And what we tell students is hold off, just take a breath and listen to what we have to say, because like you heard tonight, the biggest source of waste in a startup is building something that nobody wants. And although you think that what you're working on is a huge problem and everyone's going to want it because it's awesome, because you created it and you know it fixes what they know is a problem, you want to be able to validate that first. You want to be able to talk to the customers like you heard and make sure that you're solving the right problem. Hear it from the actual customer's mouth. So the next competition that we offer students is called eShip 2, or the Change the World Challenge. And it challenges you to go out and talk to customers, just like Numfor and Michael did in the I-Corps program. This is like a precursor to the I-Corps program. It gives you an idea about finding who your customers might be, identifying them, then learning how to actually talk to them without biasing their feedback, and then learning ultimately how to tell your story in a pitch so that you can win money. In this particular competition, you can win $1,000 by running through this program. And all those pop-ups that you see there are 1 hour or less sessions that we help you learn each of these things that we're going to ask you to pitch in the end. We're going to help you identify who your customer is. We're going to actually help you learn how to talk to them and how to ask them questions that are open-ended, so that you're not leading them to an answer that you really want to hear, but you're being open-minded and hearing what they actually are experiencing. And this, what I just described, is called customer discovery. So if you take nothing else away from what I've said tonight, this idea of customer discovery is going to make you stand out from your competitors when you're going into your next job interview. Regardless of whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur, customer discovery is going to make you different, and it's going to give you something to talk about for sure in your interview. But ultimately, you're going to be able to add to your resume because you've done customer discovery experience. Employers want the skill set that comes out of students that learn how to do this. You can also work on ideas that you come up with right in classes at the Lally School, which are open to all students on campus. You could take your idea right into the class, work full-time on your idea, and get credit for it. Another way you can work on your own idea while you're still a student is to use the Arch Semester Away to do it. You can do the self-design option in the Arch Away semester, and you can develop an internship where you're working on your own idea. And what's cool is that you can work full-time on your own idea, putting all your efforts into your project, your passion, and still be able to come into these competitions that I described. So as you can imagine, you'd be going up against students who are taking a full course load and trying to fit in this competition, whereas you are spending 100% of your time working on your business idea, and then you're coming in and you can basically sweep these competitions and make some pretty cool cash. Lastly, I just wanted to show you that We have lots of resources on campus, and the resources we love to share are our alum. And these alumni have all volunteered their time. They're entrepreneurs and residents for us in the Severino Center, and they love to work with students who have passionate ideas about building a business. They all have expertise in different industries. So when students come to us and they have specific questions in an industry that we just don't have the knowledge of, we refer to these guys. They're our first line of defense, and they're so happy to work with students. Lastly, if you want to learn more about what we're working on, we have our own Discord channel. We try to post in that almost every day and keep up information about whether we have events coming up or if we're working with the community on something. This Discord channel is open to our business community, that Startup Tech Valley that Michael mentioned briefly. That is something that was an in-person meetup that met every month. And when we weren't able to meet every month, in person, we moved to the Discord channel. So not only will you be able to talk to students from RPI on this channel, but there's also the business community that you can engage with. And these are a few other ways that you can reach us on social media, or you can reach me on that email address.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing. So you kind of gotten like a full spectrum of things, everyone. So you kind of heard, how do you get started? You've seen a student who just recently graduated, and you've seen someone who's a little further along in their career. So I hope if you at least are able to take one thing away from the series of speakers that we have here tonight. So as per usual, we're just going to wrap up with a few last announcements. And yeah, so Robert, you can go to the next slides. So as usual, we're talking about NSBE points. So make sure you guys sign in to make sure you get those NSBE points. As per usual, you can get free NSBE gear, gift cards, and awards at the end of the semester. If you're not already an NSBE RPI member, please make sure you Venmo Sydney, and you can get plugged in as an NSBE RPI member. And remember that every paid NSBE RPI member will get free swag. So make sure you get on that. So coming up is the National Convention. You should have received an email from Maverick today about if you signed up the LOI, you should have received an email from Maverick today just confirming that you are still interested in going. So if you haven't responded to his email already, please go ahead and reply, because only those who reply are the ones who will be signing up for conference. Tahira, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
Join the Facebook group. It's kind of a long name, but if you just search NSBE RPI, it will pop up and you can join. Next slide. And then if you're not in our Discord already, I see some new names. So I'm going to drop a link to the Discord in the chat so you guys can join. And then if you also haven't verified your RPI email with your Discord account, please do so sooner rather than later. And then next one, be sure to follow our Instagram at NSBE RPI, working on following people back slowly but surely. And then join the LinkedIn group as well. Mahmoud posts some things in there, so there's a manual. So if you're looking for any professional opportunities, it's a good place to be. And also check your email every Sunday. If you already signed in, you're going to be added to the email, the newsletter list, so you won't miss out on anything.
So the quote of the day is by Madam C.J. Walker. For those who don't know her, she was an entrepreneur. She was also I would say she made breakthroughs for the Black community and the time, as what she did was very unusual. So the quote basically says that make your own opportunity. You have to make your own living opportunities. Don't sit down and wait for them to come. Get up and make them. So if you see something that's missing in a certain market or industry, don't be afraid to make that idea or innovation that you feel will benefit a certain sector of society. So that's the gist of this quote.
All right, thank you everyone for coming. I want to say a big shout out again and to thank our speakers, so Michael, Kelly, and Numford. This really wouldn't have been the same without you guys. So I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone for coming to speak with us tonight. I know everyone really appreciates it.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime you guys need something, just, you got my contact info, so just hit me up.
For having me.
All right, I'll see you guys in probably another 2 weeks. So thank you again for coming, everyone. I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.